Many tributes to you today, and I would wish to add my own, in that if you'd acted on the letter I wrote to you in September 2015, a year before the incident of the then Chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee, where I raised my concerns with you that the actions of and activities of the then Chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee, if they came to light, would risk seriously damaging...
One will resume his seat. This matter was raised on a previous occasion, and I am going to say in all solemnity and with firmness to the honourable gentleman and to the House what the position is. I could not have known that the honourable gentleman intended to use this debate in the way that he has thus far done, in an orderly fashion, but in a way that I could not have predicted. I certainly couldn't have anticipated, and the honourable gentleman didn't do me the courtesy of telling me that he intended to address my reaction to these matters. But I will say to the House that I do recall, I don't have the detail in front of me, I do recall the honourable gentleman writing to me, highlighting his concerns about the right honourable gentleman, the member for Leicester East, and imploring me to act. And I indicated to the honourable gentleman, in terms, both on the basis of my own knowledge, I say to the House, of the role and responsibility of the chair, and on the strength of the professional advice of the clerk of the House, that it was not, repeat, not, for me to intervene in any way, shape or form. The premise upon which the request by the honourable gentleman for me to intervene was based was entirely, and I emphasise entirely, misplaced. It is not for the Speaker to get involved in the study of or investigation into complaints that are made about individual members of Parliament. It is not for the Speaker to perform a second job as a kind of nighttime Columbo, looking into matters that one member wants to raise about another. That is not only not necessary, it is not appropriate. It is totally out with, I say with complete clarity and for the avoidance of doubt, it is totally out with the role of the Speaker. If after 9.5 years in this place, notwithstanding my best efforts to help the honourable gentleman to do better, he still labours not merely under the misapprehension, but under the ignorant delusion that it is somehow the responsibility of the chair to intervene, frankly, I have to say to colleagues, I can't help him. I can't help him. I've tried to help the honourable gentleman. I've tried on many occasions to educate the honourable gentleman. But if the honourable gentleman won't be helped or educated, I can't do anything about that. But what I can do something about, and I have sought to do so for 10 years, is securing compliance with the procedures of this House. It is absolutely legitimate for the honourable gentleman to speak in this debate if he thinks it's proper to do so, and if the honourable gentleman feels that the general approach that he's adopted to these sorts of matters, i.e. allegations of misconduct against other members, enhances his standing in the House, it is entirely for him to make that judgment. If he thinks it makes him a more popular or a respected member to spend quite a lot of time writing to the Standards Commissioner, complaining about this one or that one or the other one, if that's the approach to parliamentary service, or part of the approach to parliamentary service for which the honourable gentleman opts, that is his privilege. And if he wishes to speak in this debate, including when I have resumed my seat, he is welcome to do so. I think he might usefully make a judgment about whether the House wants to hear him at great length when there is a clear judgment by the committee which has been accepted, which has been endorsed by the opposition chief whip. If he still feels he wants to speak at some considerable length and it makes him feel better and he thinks what an excellent contribution he's made, that's his prerogative. What the honourable gentleman won't do is breach the rules of this House and tell me, I say, not least to members of the public, what the job of the chair is. I know what the job of the chair is, and I've done it to the best of my ability, and to err is human, so I make my mistakes, but I've done it to the best of my ability for over a decade. And I don't simply assert or suggest. I state with complete confidence that it is not part of my job to make representations to a member that because of this rumour or that rumour, or this allegation or that allegation, or this person disliking him or that person disliking him, therefore it would be best if he stood down from the chairmanship of his select committee. That is not the responsibility of the Speaker of the House of Commons. And if the honourable gentleman still thinks otherwise, I fear he's beyond redemption in the matter. I mean, I'd like to help him, but he just doesn't want to be helped. Mr. Andrew Bridgen.
Speaker, I thank you for your advice. As always, for the last 10 years, you have advised me on many occasions. But had you waited for my conclusion, you would have seen that I was going to extol your decision not to get involved in this matter. Because had you done so, we may well have protected the reputation of this House, but I doubt we ever would have got to see the full report that is now before us, Mr. Speaker. And the answer is that despite this report having been public knowledge, been read by members for several days, the member for Leicester East remains a member of the Labour Party. He has the Labour whip. He currently still is a serving member of the Labour National Executive Committee, and he is still currently the candidate for Leicester East at the forthcoming election. That, of course, Mr. Speaker, is a matter for the Labour Party, and also a matter, I believe, for the public who we all serve in our own constituencies, not less Leicester East, which I believe, and I think many other people do, that Leicester East deserves rather better, Mr. Speaker. We all recall that we think about what we've done in the past and the way we've voted, and we'll all be held to account for that very shortly on the 12th of December. That only a month after the member for Leicester East resigned following the Rent Boy and Cocaine scandal from the chairmanship of the Home Affairs Select Committee, rather reluctantly, he was nominated by his party, the Labour Party, to go on to the Justice Committee. Only 4 weeks late after he'd considered himself unsuitable